Welcome back to another Zero Context Patreon stock advertising my Patreon content one out of context zero moment at a time. I finished up Altered, the second book of the Cruel World series. I took a super quick break from that by reading the Summer Pact before it ended the month with the last book of the Cruel World series, Unraveled. The first crop of Spencers is very, very small and very weak. Early on, while the scientists created serums that increased ability, they depended completely on the looms. Dante claims ignorance, but he's full of information. And those that didn't have ability, as they were put into the population to breed more spinsters. Yet the guild was hoarding every single girl who had a tiny ounce of power rather than to turn her loose and hope that she could breed a more powerful baby. The retrieval squad came and you were too stupid to warn your parents. They tried to run. There was a slub in Rome and you could have been safe there, but you didn't warn them so they couldn't escape. You killed your parents. How the hell is that Ad's fault? She's literally still a child. This is on the parents receiving in and acting like everything was perfectly alright if you ask me. Like, why didn't you take your kids and go? Why were you eating cake? I turn and find myself face to face with the girl. I take a step back as her eyes narrow and focus on my face. I kind of want to ask the author if she's aware that she's allowed to introduce new characters. Like, they don't have to be characters that we've already seen before, even if they're random one-off characters. First Valerie, now this random lady from the start of the book. What happens if the guild discovers the slub? Sometimes nothing, Fallon says. They use it to send spies through. Sometimes they send a battalion of remnants instead if they want us to know that they know. Worst case scenario is Protocol 1. They adjust the whole metro. My mind flips back into a hazy memory. The night of my retrieval, they changed the citizens' memories. Yes, Fallon says. There's a combined effort. Spencer's reviewed the whole piece, removing the slub, and meanwhile the Taylors adjust the collective memories of the population, all without ever knowing what the other group is doing. And then the passage is closed. There's no way for the refugees to get through. Okay, I don't really care about how they close the slub. The thing that I want to know is, how are these slubs being created in the first place? Do they have Spencer spies who slip these things in as they're changing the weather? Can Taylors make them? You can't let her go. For Eris' sake, this is a war zone out there. This is on page 5 of 7 from this chapter. Yes, they did stumble upon dead bodies, but I never got the impression that there was an actual battle going on. I literally went back to reread things, and while there was some minor fighting, sounds of gunfire, Eric killing a ram, and explosion, I'd hardly consider that to be a war zone. One guy with a gun doesn't turn this into 1940s France. Eric, have you seen Ad? I'm still sleepy, even though it takes a second for everything to fall into place. Joss is back looking tired and road weary, and he has found me on Eric's bed. I don't have to think hard to know what this looks like. I love how even the narration seems to have forgotten about the battle earlier. Like, wow, no reason for Ad to be in Eric's room other than because they're sleeping together. Jax's distraction comes in the form of blowing up a garage that sits far enough in the main house that we aren't in the imminent danger zone, but close enough that the security force acts swiftly, giving us the opportunity to slip out of an entrance at the back of the house. Holy run-on sentence, Batman. Would you like to use some of these? They're effing free. And do you think the guild is capable of that kind of growth? Joss asks in a mocking tone full of resentment. I've seen what the guild can do. There's been no evolution. And why should they change? The same man has been in power for the past 200 years. He won. There's literally no reason for change to happen when the current situation suits him perfectly fine. Even Kincaid turns, but his face doesn't fall when he sees Cormac Patton approaching. You know, maybe if you hadn't stood around yapping for 15 minutes, you could have been long gone, but no. Just as the vodka starts to kick in, my phone rings. It's my mother. I want to answer it. I want to pour my heart out to her and have her tell me that everything is going to be okay. But after 32 years, I know better than to answer. I know she isn't capable of making me feel better after a stumble or fall, especially one this serious. She can't do it. She'll find a way to make me feel worse. She has worked so hard to infiltrate Grady's mother's Bible study group and then in the inner sanctum of her tennis team to arrange that first date years ago, and now all her effort was for nothing. I know that will be her take, and I can't bear the thought of disappointing her. I can't bear the thought of anything. Forget about karmatic justice finding Grady. I hope karma finds this horrible mother. Tyson, it's not funny. Martin doesn't play, Nicole says, looking aghast. I feel a lawyer at another big firm in town. She would know all about Martin if she weren't dating me. He might even fire you. I can't get fired, I said. I already wrote my letter of resignation. What? She says you quit your job? Not yet, I say, but the email is drafted and ready to go. You're going to throw everything away over this? You don't even like Hannah's fiance. Her this instantly grates on me as I say, it's not about me, Nick. It's about Hannah. She feels like her life is imploding. I don't know. I'm kind of on Nicole's side here. Like he's throwing a really good job, his career away simply because his friend killed herself 10 years ago and now a different friend is having a difficult time. Like, buddy, get a little bit of perspective here. What could you possibly do to her that Lainey wouldn't also be saying? How are we going to do that? I asked. I have some idea, but first, what do you have to drink? Random thought. It's been 10 years since college. I get that you can still maintain a friendship, even a long distance one, but it's honestly a little weird that Hannah's life came crashing down around her and she has literally no friends who live nearby. Don't be shy. Scoot over and make room for Munich. Oh, my name's Berlin, she says as Grady slides the whole way over to the wall with a look of sheer panic. My bad, I say. It's totally okay, she says as we sit across from each other. I can see how that could happen. They're both cities in Germany, after all. I honestly think it would have been funnier if Lainey picked a different German city every time she referred to Berlin. Hamburg, Cologne, Stuttgart. I'm not doing anything nonchalantly, I said. I'm just asking why their education means I have to be miserable in my job. Why do you think they call it a job, Tyson? You and Mom love your work. Mom does, I'll give you that. But trust and believe, I'd rather be doing a lot of other things. I love how the dad is also miserable, but he's guilting Tyson into staying in an equally miserable job simply to carry out that generational trauma. I just want to help her, Hannah says, but coming down here was clearly a bad idea. No kidding, Sherlock. It's almost like violently confronting your bio dad's first family isn't going to go well. Who would have thought? No, actually, this isn't an insult to Sherlock Holmes. This is some freaking Scrappy-Doo mystery where even a baby could have told you that this wasn't going to end well. No, but he did Venmo me $5. What the hell? Why? She asked. So he could send me a message to confirm that I got it. Can't do that with email. What a cheapskate, Tyson says. Yeah, I said. Send him $1 back and tell him if he has something further to say via Venmo, it'll cost him $1,000. Damn straight you ring that cheating asshole for every penny. I love you guys, I say as we finish our wine. I love you more, Hannah says. Well, maybe not more, Tyson smiles. Hey, I'll take whatever I can get from you, I tell him. You always do, he quips. The context is that they went out to a restaurant and got drunk. This is a freaking published novel. In the Odyssey. Oh, never read it, Lainey says, looking proud. Didn't everyone have to read the Odyssey? Hannah asks. I did, I say, twice, in high school and college. Well, I didn't go to a fancy prep school, Lainey says, so don't leave me in suspense. Who are the sirens? I'm mainly floored over how she's bragging about how stupid and uneducated that she is. Like, I get it, my education wasn't exactly the greatest. Sometimes people talk about reading stuff like Moby Dick or Frankenstein in school, but which I never read. I still haven't read it if I'm being honest, but I don't brag about it. No, Lainey, they want you for the lead. They want you to play the pigeon girl. They wanted me over Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie is way too pretty for this role. I know that work is work in Hollywood, but come on. Wow. Simply wow. Talk about a backhanded compliment for something called Pigeon Girl. Archie holds the door for me in a way that doesn't feel performative. So much of what Grady did was for show. He was far less likely to open the car door if we were alone. Of course, my mother ate it right up. Never minded if he cheated behind closed doors so long as he held other doors open for me. This is another huge red flag. It doesn't matter how he treats you if he treats the waiter terribly. It doesn't matter how he treats other people if he treats you terribly. Yeah, I dread going back to it all. I really wish I could just move away for good. Why can't you? I don't know. Where would I go? You are literally a college-educated woman with a freaking job. Change your number and don't give it to them. Move and don't tell them the address. Your business is your business. Your life has been miserable because your mommy has been micromanaging everything, including who it is that you're supposed to marry. It's about time to cut the umbilical cord. At one point, Tyson asked me what I think about the pigeon girl's ultimate epiphany that being alone doesn't mean she's lonely. Here's what I think my main problem with this book is. It's trying to do too much. I don't think that I would mind this book if it was about the girl finding herself after she had to call off her wedding when she found her fiancé ball sleeping another woman. I wouldn't mind this if it was about a girl learning to trust men after finding out that she and her mom were the other family. I wouldn't mind this book if it was a black American man trying to find his place in the world. I don't think I would mind it if it was about three friends dealing with the fallout of their friend killing herself right before graduation. But that's the thing. This book is like 15 different books crammed into one, and it's focusing on none of these plots. It's so frustrating. What do you want? He takes a deep breath and says, I want peace and honesty and the freedom to be myself, something I've never truly felt before with anyone. So you didn't have that with Nicole? No, Tyson says, but part of that was my fault. I didn't really tell her the truth. His voice trails off. Honestly, that kind of sounds like a you problem. Of course you didn't work out if you told her literally nothing about what you actually want from a relationship. We see Hannah's goodbye with Olivia from her point of view. I kinda don't care, especially since where is this relationship even going? Where could it go? We're quickly running out of chapters. I am shaking with anger as I storm out of the bar and exit the hotel. I glance over my shoulder to confirm that my friends aren't following me. I guess they know better than to try when I'm this upset, but their lack of effort is even more hurtful. I don't know what you effing want anymore. You storm out from there and then you get angry that they didn't follow you? My point is, I'm sure she's getting the care she needs. Italy has good doctors. Because it's not goddamned America. Cormac and the Guild have underestimated me. Now, as they take me back to the alteration labs in the Coventry looms, I know I have power. The thing that I'm hung up over is why the hell would they want her back after she's been exposed to all of their dirty little secrets? And on top of that is that she's already proven over and over where her loyalties lie in bringing them down. They use a machine to create a temporary slip in the interface between ours and Earth and force passage between them. The Guild has the only technology to do so. And yet they keep popping up and people keep escaping Eris, so it's not so much the random office workers that you need to fear, it's your own people. Or as I've been saying this entire time, you can't imprison every girl with an ounce of power, demand that she spend the rest of her life scrubbing toilets, and then be surprised that she's going to stand against you. Despite the lack of power for operating the gate, the capital offices must have some type of generator because a few electric lights blink in the windows. It's a poor gate that you can't manually open in case the power does go out. Like, I get that they created this as the ultimate utopia away from the horrors of 1940s Europe, but come on, make a few contingencies. Hannah's final accusatory look burns in my mind. She sees me as the problem, another girl not only controlled by the guild but willing to do as they wish. And that's half of their problem. They view other women as the problem rather than an ally. To be fair, as I said in the first book, Laura Still herself did so little to actually have all of the other spinsters under her care. She was literally another cog in the machine of her own impression. I've been dressed in a pink wool suit with gold buttons on the lapels because Cormac says that it's matronly, exactly how a 16-year-old wants to be described. He wants me to look like a wife, not a teenage girl, but I'm not sure the wool suit will hide our massive age difference. I know that this world does not have anime in that culture, but this is when you break out the ooh-woo speech, the entire thing of poking your index fingers together over and over, going, ooh, this is the woo-woo-woo, and acting all shy and anxious. This is literally the only way I can think to properly highlight how immature and young that somebody is. Join my Patreon as a free member to access all of the same amazing content you love on Tumblr. However, for only $1 a month, you can join my Patreon and unlock all of this month's book snark as well as early access for my free daily snark. I'll see you next month, guys.